Amy, let me tell you about a magical place that is so exactly designed to be enclosed space, year-round fun for the whole family that I bet you already know what I'm going to say before I even say the name. Let's say it together on 3. 1, 2, 3. Great Wolf Lodge. You got it, Amy.
My kids loved Great Wolf Lodge when we went. You probably already know that it has a huge indoor water park with a wave pool, lazy river, a bunch of massive water slides. But then your pack can hit the other attractions because wait, there's more.
Great Wolf Lodge has adventure-packed attractions like Magi Quest, a live-action game kids can play throughout the lodge, plus the Northern Lights Arcade. Spent some quality time there, so your kid who loves the lazy river and your kid who loves fantasy games will both have a great time.
Great Wolf Lodge also offers great dining options and complimentary daily events like nightly dance parties, all under one roof. Unpack the car once and you're settled in to have fun. And with 22 lodges across the country, you're always a short drive away from adventure.
We've both had such great times at Great Wolf Lodge, so bring your pack together at a lodge near you. Learn more at greatwolf.com and strengthen the pack. Hello and welcome to Fresh Take from What Fresh Hell, laughing in the face of motherhood. Today I am talking to Rashida Dinehart. She's the co-host of the Grieving Mamas Club podcast, which provides community for anyone on the wild ride of motherhood while also navigating their grief journey. She is also the creator of Mona and Me, a blog exploring the high highs and low lows of Rashida's life as a motherless mom. Rashida is a marketing strategist and a mother of 2. She and her family live in St. Louis, Missouri. Welcome, Rashida.
Hello. That intro made me feel like a powerhouse. I like it.
You know, we love a big intro. So you talk about a lot of different things in your work, but kind of the center of your work is this idea of grief and loss. And that story centers around your own loss of your mom, Mona, when you were 15. So Tell us what brought you into this work and your sort of story of origin.
Sure. Yeah. It's a little bit of a long time coming kind of story. So I lost my mom when I was 15, which is a little bit over 16 years ago. And essentially after I lost her, so I was a sophomore in college and I lost her like randomly, I should say. She had a heart attack. So it was definitely a surprise. And I did what I have now through therapy come to find out is like my default. So I immediately started doing things, anything to keep me from feeling, essentially. So I went in high school. I then had to do all the things I needed to do to get to college. Once I got to college, I was like, okay, what are all the things I need to do to, of all, continue to pay for college because I was paying for it myself? And what do I do? Like, what do you do after that? What are you in college for? To get a job. So once I landed my first job outside of college, I essentially ran out of things to do. So here I am 7 years removed from having lost my mom. And all of a sudden I am angry. So darn angry. And I kept telling myself, you should be over it by now. Ha ha ha. As I have come to...
Right, because the years have passed. That's right. Like it was a long time ago, but right, in those ensuing years, you haven't been processing the grief. You've been going.
Correct. Yes. Just going, which, I mean, I'm 32 years old now, and that's still my default. And I still have to be like, okay, hang on now.
Yes.
Like, feel these feels. So here I am, 22, angry at the loss of my mom and all that I've had to do without her. And it wasn't until then that I was like, I think I need help. Like, I think this is something I need help processing my way through. So I started taking Zoloft right around that time. And then after a while, I was like, this still isn't doing what I needed to do. Like, I needed to legitimately work through the loss. So I started therapy shortly after that and really haven't stopped.
And so you start therapy, and I think this is I lost my mom 4 years ago. And so I was really an adult. I mean, my mom was older and we had a very long life together and a good, strong relationship. And so I think it's a bit of a different portrait of grief, obviously, than losing your mom. I was in my 40s versus 15. But When you start therapy, what are you working at that point? Like, what is this loss that happened a long time ago? I think is interesting to me as a phenomenon.
Yeah, two things. Would love to back up and say it doesn't matter when you lost your mom,
Yes.
Margaret. You are still allowed to be like, I don't know if it is better or worse that you lost your mom in your 40s. In some ways, I would say worse because you lived most of your life with her.
Yes. You had so much time together. Yeah.
Yes, you had so much time. And so I think a loss is a loss no matter when it is in your life, and you deserve to feel your feels no matter when it is.
I appreciate that. You're right.
Yes. So for me, having lost her and then going so many years without processing the grief, in therapy, I did just that. I processed what had happened to me. I had a lot of anger, just straight anger at my mom, anger at myself. I did a lot of blaming of myself. Like maybe I should have been there to stop what? I don't know. I was 15. So, I mean, what are you when you're 15? Very self-involved in yourself. So yeah, so I did a lot of like work through that. And I knew then, well, I should say I quasi knew I wanted to be a mom. My husband, I was a little bit ambivalent about children, but my husband was like, no, yeah, I definitely want kids. And so I knew that was going to be a trigger for me, becoming a mom without my mom. So I needed to work through that in therapy too.
We've talked a lot about that, and I think it's interesting. Some of the challenge of what goes on when we have children, it brings up two different challenges. One, you see in yourself, you see their relationship with you, and that reflects your relationship with your mom. So you're reprocessing the grief of your mom.
Mm-hmm.
And also, you're feeling a new grief for what your mom would have seen if she had been here and been with them. And so it's very layered. And I think Amy and I are both Irish Catholic from a kind of tradition of like, well, we accept things and we move on. You know, we don't wallow.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's an interesting thing. Like, what is the worth? And I know the answer, but I'm going to ask the question anyway.
Mm-hmm.
In going back and revisiting this kind of trauma, when like you are busy, you're working, you're going to college, you're getting stuff done, you're doing the things I'm sure your mom would have wanted you to do in some ways and succeeding. Mm-hmm. And why then pause and go back and say, let's think about this really hard thing?
Sure. No, I love that question. That's a deep one.
I mean, I kind of get it. I'm asking, I think I kind of know, but tell me anyway.
Yeah. So a popular therapist saying is the only way to is through. So you have to feel your feels and heal from them before you can even expect to move on. And I'm not a therapist. I just want to say, not a licensed therapist.
Full disclosure.
Yeah, full disclosure. Just love therapy. I think it's for everyone. But in therapy, you learn a lot of coping skills in how to cope. Like, so it's not like I quote unquote got over the loss of my mom in therapy.
Right.
However, I have learned of all what my triggers are and how to avoid them or cope through them. And it's allowed me to be, I think without therapy, I wouldn't be the mom and wife that I am, because I had to work through also some like real, I wouldn't call them trust issues, but it took me a long time after my mom passed away to let other people back in, because once you've lost somebody at that age, you live in fear that you are going to lose somebody of that magnitude again. So yeah.
Now, as a young person, high school, college, as I said, you're maybe from the outside doing all the right things, but how is this manifesting in negative ways at those ages in terms of this feeling of like, okay, you're checking a lot of boxes, but what's not right about that?
I was depressed. I was absolutely depressed. And it wasn't until I was done out of to-dos that it hit me. Like, I would obviously cried and missed my mom plenty during those 7 years before I started therapy. But A of all, didn't have the coping skills to cope with it. And B of all, I love this idea that grief isn't linear, which is it's not, cannot copyright that.
No, it's been said before, but it's so true.
Yes. And so I don't think I even learned that as an idea, a concept until I started therapy. And then only then was I starting to allow myself to just feel my feels, because you get to a certain point, 7 years removed that you're like, I shouldn't be crying over this anymore.
Right. We think there's a door, and then through that door is the finish line, or we think there's a tape at the end of the race. And it's like, I am done with this experience. And that's obviously not how it works at all. We wish.
It's not. I really do. Yeah. So on the podcast, my co-host and she recently lost her mom about a year and a half ago. And so we do a lot of talking about how, yes, grief isn't linear and it's a lifelong journey. And I feel terrible when I tell her that, because that makes it sound like if you are fresh out of a loss, that makes it sound like you are going to be.
It never gets better. Right.
Yes. And that's not the case. And I hope that through the work that I'm doing, that people are understanding that, yes, feel your feels. When you have triggers, work through them. Miss your people like crazy if you've lost somebody and that's the grief you're dealing with, but also find joy.
Yes, there's something about that. Let's take a break. I want to touch on something about that after this break.
For some of us, tax season is one of the only times that we look at our finances fully. And once it's over, well, that was terrible. And it is completely understandable not to want to think about it for another whole year. But using Monarch and being intentional with your finances in an ongoing way helps you see where your money is going and how you can put your refund to best use.
We are here to tell you, simplify your finances with Monarch. Monarch is the all-in-one personal finance tool designed to make your life easier. It brings your entire financial life, budgeting, accounts and investments, net worth, and future planning together in one dashboard on your phone or laptop.
Feel aware and in control of your finances this tax season and get 50% off your Monarch subscription with code FRESH.
As you know, my husband and I are preparing to send, 3 kids off to college, and I cannot tell you how helpful Monarch has been in showing us our full financial picture, helping us to track our spending and reach important savings milestones. Our weekly meeting, Amy, it's now run by Monarch.
Love it. Achieve your financial goals for good with Monarch, the all-in-one tool that makes money management simple.
Use code FRESH at monarch.com for half off your first year. That's 50% off at monarch.com, code FRESH.
You know that thing where you get an amazing pair of shoes at a really great price and want to tell everyone about it? Yeah, so do we. Here at Designer Shoe Warehouse, we'll give you something to brag about, like the latest styles from brands you love, or the trends everyone's obsessing over, or shoes that make you feel like, well, you. So go ahead, show off a little. Find shoes that get you at prices that get your budget. Head to your DSW store or DSW.com today. DSW, let us surprise you.
We're talking to Rashida Dinehart, who is the co-host of the Grieving Mamas Club podcast. And I think this idea of finding joy, especially as moms ourselves. So my mom died, was ill and died when I had kids who were, I'm going to say 5, 7, and 9. And so I felt sometimes like I'm wearing one face for the kids and then dealing with my stuff sort of separately, which, let me be clear, I think sometimes there's a place for that. I don't think that we need to put all of our grief on our kids, and they don't necessarily need to be part of every moment of what we're processing. It's not appropriate for them.
For sure. That's not fair to them.
I think that's right. But it is kind of difficult, this parallel tracks. It seems to me like your story as a young person, you were running 2 different parallel tracks. You were running this very functional track. And then there was another track where this kind of loss was just getting buried down and doing some damage. And I think that as moms, we spend a lot of time in that mode, which is I got to keep going for my kids. So whatever my internal life is I'm just going to every night throw some dirt on top of it and hope that it's, either hope that it's there to deal with tomorrow or just hope that it's never there to deal with again.
Yeah, that it never comes back up. But that's not the case with grief, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's not.
You can throw as much on there as you want and you are... Yeah, it's still going to find its way up.
So let's talk about the stages of grieving, because I know you talk about that on your podcast.
Yes.
What are the stages of grieving?
So we actually just did a podcast episode on this. And what we have found is that there are 2, styles maybe of the stages of grief. So there's either 5 or 7. The 5 stages of grief is a little bit of an older model. I believe it was coined in the 50s or 60s. So those 5 stages are denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. What Kara and I have found in our research through the podcast and just going through grief processes ourselves is that there's a model that has 7 stages, and we feel like these 7 stages, I guess, work a little bit closer to our grief journeys. I don't want to speak to anybody's grief journeys, but the 7 just seem a little bit more all-encompassing.
Okay.
1 is shock and denial. I liked that one.
Yes.
I liked that one a lot because it was weird to me that in the 5, shock was missing. And I think it could be wrapped up in denial, but I think there are I struggled with denial a bit because like when my mom died, she died. There was no time for me to be in a denial state. 2 is pain and guilt. Love that one as well. It's weird to say I love that for grief, but
I love pain and guilt, but I know what you mean. It captures something. Yes.
Yes. And that seemed to be missing from the 5 as well. And then 3 is actually putting anger and bargaining together. Also love that because when you are angry, the feeling is anger, the action is bargaining, and you're doing it because you're angry. 4 is depression, reflection, loneliness, which sounds as sad as it is.
I like loneliness being in there too.
Yeah, me too. And then this is where I really like it. So 5 is called the upward turn. So this is where you start to adjust to your new life without your loved one. You still could be experiencing symptoms of depression and things like that, but this is like the bottom of the hill and you're slowly starting to bring yourself back up. 6, because I love therapy. This is also a favorite. I'm like, these last ones are my favorite.
You.
Yeah. 6 is reconstruction and working through. So this is when you would start to go to therapy. For some of us, this happens right away. My co-host Kara, like immediately was like, nope, going to therapy. For some of us like me, this is 7 years later, you start to enter this stage. So yeah, this is where you start to figure out how you're going to get through and live this life without the person you've lost. And then also really like this one. 7 is acceptance and hope. So ending the 5 stages with just acceptance seems very sad. Like it seems very like,
yes.
Well, that's it. Like she died and that's it. Acceptance and hope makes me feel hopeful. Like it makes me feel lifted.
And one thing I've always thought about the stages of grief, it's a very good, I feel like the steps are very good in terms of things that most people experience during grief. But the idea that you check things off and head towards the tape at the end is always problematic because I do think that you wave through these things again and again, and that you may have moments. I was recently telling a story on the podcast that when I lost my mom, she had been ill, and there was a little bit of a sense of relief and acceptance around her death. Like, oh, okay. Like I saw it coming. Here it is. And that for me, I feel like because that acceptance came earlier in this way, that things got a little jumbled.
Sure.
And that I recently had an experience where I lost a ring of my mom's. I found it. Thank God.
I'm wearing one of mine today. One of my mom's today.
In the several hours that I thought I had lost it, I had been at an event and I could picture, I was helping pull up the tablecloths and I was like, it came off. It's in one of the, it's gone forever. I could picture what had happened. I was so sure it was gone. And I had like a 2-hour unbelievable, like rending of the garments, animalistic crying, shouting at the heavens, like purge that I never had when my mom actually died. And this is 3.5, 4 years later. And I think in a way, like, yes, that was quote unquote bottled up, probably, you know, a lot of those feelings. But also in a way, I was kind of thankful for the experience of losing that ring. I was like, I really needed that kind of exorcism of that experience.
That release. Yeah.
And to like tap in and allow myself to feel that deep grief that I don't think I was just bearing. It's not that simple. It's that this death was contextually understandable and still extremely painful, but there's no world in which I would have been rending my garments at the funeral. I didn't feel that way at that time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so I do think that like the grief journey is such a better metaphor because it is kind of a journey in terms of it's not like, oh, I'm on step 4, next comes step 5. I feel like I went step 1, step 5, step 7, step 2, and that you kind of have to allow for this happening in that way.
Yeah. Yeah. And truly what you went through was anticipatory grief.
Yes.
So as you were knowing that you were going to lose your mom, you kind of went through like a pre-grief stages or whatever. So it's like you've had 2 grief journeys almost, like the one in which you were waiting and then the one and now of which your mom is gone.
Yes.
So yeah, of course you would feel all kinds of feels because it was a strange thing. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that that's where I find the markers of the stages of grief the most useful in that way. Like, oh, that's right. This is part of this. To me, it's not a line. It's like a constellation of things that happen.
Correct.
And that certain ones, it's like, those word clouds where like, it shows you like what you tweet or whatever, what words you use most. And sometimes words come to the foreground or the background and they get bigger and smaller. I think that for me, that's how I think of it. Like sometimes that hope and acceptance is huge. And then sometimes it recedes a little bit and that bargaining still kind of comes up.
It does. I call this stage for me, at least, like acceptance high and acceptance low.
Yes. Good.
So I have gotten to a space where I have accepted my mom is gone, that I have grandchildren. It's like you said, I am mourning I have her grandchildren, but it's like I am mourning for her and for her. Like she is not here to see her beautiful grandbabies. And I know she would have loved and loved on them and all of those things. And so I have accepted that she's gone, but that doesn't mean that I don't have bad days or that I don't have triggers that like come out of nowhere. My entire pregnancy with my daughter, who is my second born, was actually one 9-month-long trigger. Like for 9 months, I think I was just unprepared of what it would mean to have a daughter without my mom. And so I had, again, grief isn't linear. I'd done all the work. All the work, quote unquote. I had gone to therapy. I'd worked through like what it meant to be a mom without a mom.
Yes.
I had my son. I was doing great. And then I had found out I was having a girl and I was like, oh my God, I miss my mom.
Yes. Yeah. There's something different about the level of this experience. We're talking to Rashida Dinehart. We're going to be right back after this break.
My favorite skincare products actually feel more like self-care, like they're so nice to put on and they smell so good that I'm actually happy when I get to that part of my day. And I swear that is how I feel about Osea's anti-aging body balm.
Amy, you are usually the lotions and potions queen on this podcast, but I have to say, hard agree.
Osea's anti-aging body balm is a liquid silk body balm that combines the lasting hydration of a lotion with the firming power of a serum, leaving skin smoother and firmer.
This body balm is clinically tested and designed to deliver visible results you can see and feel.
So we've gotten to use this product for a couple of months now, and I swear I have really noticed firmer and smoother skin, like on the back of my hands. It's like getting a mini spa treatment from head to toe.
Get a spring-worthy glow with clean, clinically tested skincare from Osea. And right now, we have a special discount just for our listeners.
Get 10% off your first order site-wide with code FRESH at OseaMalibu.com.
That's 10% off your first order with code FRESH at OSEAMalibu.com.
All my kids learned to swim when they were little. It was super important to me that they be confident and safe in the water. There was only one problem with that, taking them to swim lessons. I mean, the pools were freezing. There were always cranky adults doing laps right there. And it was definitely not, for any of us, what you would call fun.
Amy, heard. But now there's Goldfish Swim School. Goldfish takes a really thoughtful approach to swim lessons, combining research-based teaching with a warm, kid-friendly environment that actually helps kids thrive in the water.
Every detail at Goldfish is thoughtfully designed to create a golden experience, from shiver-free, warm indoor pools to comfy waiting areas for parents to professionally trained lifeguards on deck.
Goldfish uses an approach called the science of swim play, which combines guided play with proven teaching techniques to help kids learn to swim, build water safety skills, and gain confidence all at their own pace. Lessons are designed to meet kids exactly where they're at.
If you've been thinking about swim lessons or just wondering where to start, this is a great opportunity. Right now, Goldfish Swim School is offering a waived membership plus your child's first lesson free at participating locations.
Just visit goldfishswimschool.com/free to find a location near you and enroll using promo code FREE.
That's goldfishswimschool.com/free, promo code FREE.
I want to pick up on what you were talking about. We've talked a lot about ACEs childhoods. Do you know this term? It's people who have experienced deep trauma within their childhood.
Oh, yes. I've listened to that episode.
Damage that, occurred in their environment or through their parents. And that I think it's very interesting to me. I know people whose parents have left when they were children and they were like, oh, I got it. I've worked my way through that. Let's say their parent left when they were 4. Suddenly their child turns 4 and they have it's like they fall through a rotten floorboard into like the darkest depths of that because somehow seeing your own children, it puts the context of that. And I think having a daughter and having lost your mom as a daughter, it pulls that context so close to you that you're starting the grieving process, maybe not again, but your word cloud is really changing. Like that grief is coming so big and the acceptance is receding.
Yes. Well, and also throw in a pandemic because I was of the lucky moms who were very pregnant when the pandemic rang out. So yes, a lot of grief going on, which... Side note, I love now as a time to talk about grief because collectively we've all gone through a grief journey. So like now is the time for people to stop making grief seem like it's a taboo thing to talk about because we've all lost a way of life that we were living prior to the pandemic. And for some people who've already gone through a grief journey or who are on a grief journey are like, welcome.
Can you talk a little bit about people helping other people through their grief journey? This is something that I think poor people, they get a lot of things wrong. They try really hard. I know when my husband lost his father, I know when I lost my mom, it's a strange thing. People are very afraid to bring it up. People say things like, well, I didn't want to remind you, that your mom died. It's like, no, you didn't have to worry about that. It was already front of mind for me.
Yes.
What do people get wrong about trying to help other people through their grief? And I want to be careful of this because I'm always I don't always love the story of like these idiots said stupid things. When my husband's father passed away, I know his stepmom said something that always continues to move me, which is, she said, I'm just going to try to hear I love you no matter what people say. Like, as long as people are walking up to me and saying anything, I'm going to try to hear I love you. And people said unbelievably bad stuff, wrong stuff, stuff that really hurt more than helping. But I do want to put in people's path that I think that most people who are trying to reach out to you around your grief are trying to be helpful.
Yes. I love that you said that because nobody is going out of their way to say something to you to hurt your feelings. A lot of times they're projecting their own thoughts and fears onto you when they're saying things. So for some people, I don't love when people say, or when they said, well, she's in a better place. Sure, but I thought I was a fine place.
I was a pretty good place. And also I'm in a much worse place. So,
Correct. Yes. And so I think, but if you flip it, that person needs to believe that.
Yes.
So that person needs to believe that who has lost, and if they meant something to them, they need to understand that she's in a better place. Another one, that is coming from a good space, but is not always the best is God needed her more.
Right.
Okay, that has a lot of meanings.
A lot of those.
Okay, sure. Like when I was 15,
No, you probably needed her a lot. Yeah.
Yes, I'm like, you mean to tell me God needed my mom more than me? No way.
Right.
No way. Dude he's got like Abe Lincoln up there. He's got
Chat with Gandhi for a while. We've got stuff to do down here. Yes.
Yes. Let me keep her.
Yes.
So yes, those are, and again, like you said, I truly believe no one is meaning to rip my heart out when they say those things, but it's hard to know since grief is, I've heard this saying before and I love it. Grief is a universal thing that is different for each of us. So it is tough when everybody processes grief in their own way. What's good for some person might not be great for another. I love talking about my mom.
Mm-hmm.
It's upon meeting me, definitely when I start a new job or anything like that, I tend to try to work it in conversation. It sounds so weird. Like I just like, hello, I'm Rashida. My mom died.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. But I like to put it out there. So for a couple of things, one, if I am ever triggered by something or sad by something, you can assume it's that. So, you know, it also stops any awkward conversation. Like, hey, what are you doing for your mom for Mother's Day?
Right.
Well, my mom, and then it's an awkward like situation that way too. So that's how I like to talk about my mom. But I know some people who are like, I'd rather not talk about it that much.
Right. It's hard. There's no one size fits all, because I will hear people say and feel for myself sometimes like that thing of, well, I didn't want to remind you of this terrible thing that happens. It's like, well, it's just so much weirder that you won't say anything about what's going on with me.
It is.
But then I also do understand that it is awkward, and it kind of, I understand for other people that may not be the rule. So it's not one of those things you can put hard and fast rules around. I want to turn just quickly towards this identity that so many people have of motherless daughters as they're raising their kids. How do you see that sort of definition and role changing over time? Like, does that fade into the word cloud at a certain point where like you're now, what did you say, higher, lower, like your mother ascending, motherless daughter descending at a certain point? Like, because I think that motherless daughter is a role that has defined us to a certain point. But then I wonder if there's a realm for that to become a smaller part of our identity as we become mothers and we move into a new phase of our lives without losing the gifts that our moms gave us.
Sure. I think I like to refer to myself as a motherless mom more than I do a motherless daughter. And there's probably no rhyme or reason to that.
No, I think it does make sense though, because your primary identity is not daughter anymore. It's mother.
Correct.
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
Yes. And it's the way I move about my life. I mean, I'm moving about my life in one or two ways. I am at times a mom, but I'm a motherless mom. You know, like the two things that have to date very much defined me are the loss of my mom and becoming a mom. So I prefer motherless mom.
Makes
because
sense.
it gives a quick snapshot of where I am in my life. I am a motherless daughter, of course, but I was a motherless daughter when I lost my mom, and moving into this new space of motherhood has put me on a different grief journey that I hadn't anticipated.
Yeah, it's kind of a perfect answer to it. I think that is what's happening, is that your identity continues to shift and grow. The absolutes and the realities of your life stay the same, but they take on a little bit of a different role in your overall story, which makes sense to me because I think that as we do synthesize our losses and find a place for this grief to kind of settle into our lives, but it's not maybe the center of our story anymore. Does that make sense?
Totally, totally. And it's, definitely not, well, I mean, it's slightly the center of my story since I've got a whole podcast and whatnot.
Well, of your podcast story, for sure.
But yes, it no longer controls all of who I am. There's another, full of metaphors today, sorry.
We love a metaphor on What Fresh Hell. Believe me, we're metaphor heavy here.
Perfect. So my favorite grief metaphor is that when you first lose somebody, it's like waves. So the waves keep crashing and crashing and crashing, and you can't catch your breath because you're in survival mode, really, and that first year or however long it takes you. But as time goes on, the waves never stop, and they're never less tragic, I guess I should say, or less crashy, but they come less frequent. So in between your waves, this is the part where I added my own little thing in. I like to say in between the waves is when you get a chance to like stop and feel the sunshine. Because when those waves keep crashing on you in the beginning, you don't have time. You can barely breathe. Like you don't have time to see the sun. But as your grief journey moves on, you learn to find those little pockets of joy in between those waves. And they're still going to come. I'm 16 years removed from losing my mom, and my daughter, her personality is actually becoming that of my mom. So my mom was a sassy Black woman, like sassy. And my daughter, like she might cut you, she might not. I don't know.
Hard to predict.
Like hard to predict, yes. But she's like, her little sassy personality is already coming out. And I find like a bittersweet joy in that. Like I find like it's adorable to me because I'm like, oh my gosh, you're just your angel grandma. But then I'm also like, oh, but I miss my mom. So those are some of those waves crashing, but some of that sunshine being felt.
Yeah. And it takes us to the end of our steps, that acceptance and hope, that's hopefully where you spend the most time with this idea of like this acceptance of the loss, this hope for like seeing your daughter who's so much like your mom. And that's, I think, the best that we're all heading for in these kind of journeys.
It is.
Rashida, tell us where we can find your blog, your podcast, and hear more of your wisdom. This was such a great conversation.
Oh, thank you so much. Yes. So you can listen to our podcast wherever you get your podcast. I love saying that.
Wherever you get your podcasts.
Yes, the Grieving Mamas Club. You can find me at my blog at monaandme.com, or you can follow me on Instagram at rashida.dinehart.
Awesome. And we will put links to all of that, including Rashida's recent episode about the stages of grief in the show notes for this episode. Rashida, thanks so much for talking to me today.
Thank you.